Alright, so for today, spark plugs. So one of the things I noticed was that there's hesitation, particularly in third gear, as well as really no acceleration beyond 4,000 RPM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the plugs and see how that changes things. I definitely have the vacuum leak, but I think this is always a good starting point too. Pretty straightforward. After you take off the engine cover, there are these 4 little squares, 2 on this side, 2 on the other. Start off by removing the caps. And 2 on this side as well. You'll notice there's a slight indent right here. You could just use a flat head to get underneath there. To get underneath there. And you'll remove the 4 of these before the next. Alright, and these bolts, they look like 10s. Oh damn, it's not even tightened. Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, remove these 4. I mean, so placement wise, it's not the best. You can see how it could drop down there pretty easily. I think you want to use something where you could catch the bolts when it is out enough. This little magnet tool for $1 always comes in handy. Once those are out, it's pretty easy to lift it off. It's a somewhat deceptive, right? Because it looks like this whole thing is connected and maybe you have to do some removal up here. You don't. It lifts straight off. And once you lift it off, the plugs are underneath here. It's a 8 liter, so there's 4 on the side, 4 on that side. What you're gonna have to do to get them out is remove each of these bolts, or in this instance, it's a combination of bolts and nuts. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Once you do that, you'll be able to lift out the plugs and go from there. Of note, you'll have to detach each of these. You just lift up. As you can see, just lift up. Up and out the way. Up. Alright? Alright, so these are 10s. And you're just able to lift them out. You know what, actually, I don't even think you need to take off. You don't even need to take this off. So you can leave them on. They come out anyway. And there's a spark plug. However, if they are attached, then you could take it out and put it aside. Now you see, this is why checking in, even if the car is running right, is critical. Here's what I've got to tell you. The cover here was loose. And that by itself is not a big deal, but it's what it suggests is going on here. All of these that's supposed to be holding down the plugs, all of them are loose. What that suggests is that I'm dealing with a car where things aren't torqued down to spec. I guarantee you that these spark plugs are not going to be torqued down to spec. But either way, we've got replacements here, and I won't be replacing the plugs, but I won't be replacing these, but I will be replacing the actual spark plugs themselves. These plugs are 5/8. Now we have the plugs out. As far as replacements, I'm going to use these Bosch replacements. Not that I think the type of spark plug really matters, whether NGK, Bosch, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to get these in. And finish up the job. All right, the new plugs are in. Gonna go 25 pound-feet each one. All right, once everything's back in, put the cover back on. All right, put the cover back on. Put your bolts back in, and you're done with that. And last part. That's nice. Until next time. The good thing about doing these spark plugs is made me realize something else is going on. Look at this hose here. So the expansion tank reservoir, you know, it goes down underneath here, and the hose follow. One goes over to one side of the head, the other goes to this side. So goes down, cools the passenger side, cools the driver's side. And this is what we have going on with one of the hoses. You can see that it's wet. You can see this green, you know that it's coolant. Now take it further, looking underneath the car. Here we go. So everything's coming out, and looking at where it's dripping from, I can see it's coming from exactly where it's concerning. We're concerned here, essentially along the firewall, which lines up here. Now, clearly, I think that's the issue that I have here. But more importantly, even if it's not, this needs to be changed. Now here, as I'm trying to loosen this, the actual clamp doesn't even seem to be responding. But anyway, I'll figure out how to get this off. And once I do, I'll replace this hose. Focus here. I'll replace this hose. Seems the clamp too. And hopefully that's off. Now that it's off, we can see that it was. And look at this hose. I mean, come on. This thing's torn up. It's just absolutely destroyed. So here's the good news and bad news. The good news is that I found the issue. The great news is that I don't believe I have any cooling issues otherwise, as I have the new water pump, and it's been good so far. What I plan to do is, this hose is so long, it's clearly not the OEM one. What I'm going to do for now is cut it here and put it back on, retighten it, and once I do so, it'll give me enough time to have a replacement hose and at least test what I've got here going on now. All right, down here we can see the major issue. So once again, there's never a downside to inspecting your stuff. Frankly, it just eliminates problems. So I'm going to go about cutting this hose just so I could have a quick replacement, and then we'll go from there.